Oh, okay. Now you said you
Yeah.
talk to yourself. What does that mean? Do you not write anything
I just
down?
kind of ramble to myself. Yeah, I can't really do much by sitting and writing. It's
Okay.
not really. I have to get up. I actually have two different writing processes.
I would love to
There's
hear them.
one with me kind of just wandering around the kitchen island. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of walking in circles around it, talking to myself. And the other process is me like laying in bed, wrapped up in two covers and sheets, and just kind of talking to myself, laying in bed. And I don't know what it is. It's like either walking or being very stationary, but like I could not write a joke like this, like sitting in a chair.
Okay. No, well, I mean now let me tell you. So you're walking around your kitchen. I want to be there in the room with you, which would probably make you very uncomfortable if I was just watching you. But you're walking around the kitchen island, or you're in your bed, and you're talking to yourself, and you come up with this analogy between overspending, Grand Canyon. Does that just stay in your mind until you can get to a stage, or do you have to jot it down? Do you throw it in your phone?
Yeah, I write down the main ideas of
Okay.
what I'm thinking. I usually don't try to write things out word for word until I've been doing the joke for a while.
Okay. Does that get developed on stage then, or do you have a pretty good outline that you follow on stage, or do you go on stage with maybe knowing like, hey, I got 50% of it down, and the other 50% is going to come out in the next 15 minutes while I'm up here?
I usually come on stage with I have my formula.
Okay.
Not a formula, but I have my outline. I have my outline of ideas. So there's the premise, and then there's the setup, and then there's my punchlines and my tags.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think of it that way,
Mm-hmm.
but I have them. And I'm also thinking of the rhythm that I'm going to say it in, how I'm going to time it, how I'm thinking that the audience might react to different parts of it. By the time I bring a joke to the stage, I've thought about all of that.
What do you mean by rhythm? What do you mean the rhythm that you're going to tell a joke? What does that mean?
Yeah, like where the pauses are,
Okay.
where the intonation is, where I stop, where I might speed up.
Okay.
I don't write that down.
Yeah.
It's just something I'm practicing in my mind. I'm like, what is the where I kind of think of when I was. So I got like I got my master's degree in teaching English as a second language. So I studied linguistics, and one of the most important classes I took this advanced methods in teaching listening and speaking, and it talked about. There was this book that we read called Clear Speech.
Okay.
And it talked about like what actually makes speech intelligible.
Mm-hmm.
What makes speech coherent? What makes speech, especially in English, what makes it easy for people to understand?
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what a punchline is when people laugh.
Yeah.
They're laughing because they've understood a lot of information at one time.
Yeah.
It's a dense, right? And so it's kind of like a punch, like a punch. There's a lot of power.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ideas that they've connected between your setup and your punchline, and it's all hitting them at once.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the best way to do that is you have to be careful about how you say things. So I'm trying to think of the example. I think the biggest mistake you can make in comedy is talking past the audience.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
You said more things than the audience can understand.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're talking they still need time to process the last thing you said, and now you're saying the third thing.
Okay.
So how are they gonna laugh at the third thing you said when they haven't finished thinking about the first thing you said? That's timing. That's what comedic timing is.
Yeah.
I've said this. I'm waiting for the audience to process that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I say the next thing. I wait for them to process that. And then I say the next thing, and they're ready to process that. That's all comedic timing is. You're just kind of anticipating how long it takes the audience to understand something and when they're ready to digest the next idea. Because if you say the punchline and they're still thinking about the setup, it's not going to hit.
Okay. So
they're not ready.
So how do you mitigate that? How do you make sure when you're writing the setup, especially if you're putting a lot into that setup. You talked about the fact that you're putting a lot of information in at one time, and so the punch can be delivered. What are some of the things that you do to make sure that the audience is understand? I mean, you talked about timing. I get that part, but the content of what you're saying. How do you what are some of the processes that you do to understand if the audience is getting on board with what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have much to do with the content. It's about
Okay.
being in the room
Okay.
and just kind of being able to perceive the feelings in the room.
Okay.
I can feel it. I can feel it. I don't know if anybody else can, but like, it's because I teach.
Yeah.
And so, I teach foreigners.
Yeah.
I teach English to foreigners. So I need to always be aware of how much my students understand.
Okay.
And whether they're ready to move on.
Yeah.
And if they're not ready to move on, then I got to go back.
Okay.
Or I have to give them more time to process.
Okay.
So that's something you just build up an intuition about. And I think great comedians also do that. They build up an intuition about how people normally process information.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I mean, it's I like that example where you're talking. I mean, well, your real life experience with teaching foreigners and then checking for comprehension and then doing the same on stage. Now, I would argue that you are under almost like a time bomb on stage, meaning that like when you're in the classroom, you're much more relaxed. You can take your time. You can, put out the information, see if they're on board, judge it, do it again, or go on. I mean, it doesn't seem like you're almost trying, like to take as much time as you need in the classroom. Or on stage, do you feel the pressure to be like, I have to say something funny in the first 10 seconds, or this show's going to go off the rails real quick?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't feel that pressure anymore. When I was younger and I first started doing stand-up, you felt like I have to say something. I have to get – like I remember rushing. I would rush to the punchline. I'm like, I got to get to the punchline right away. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm going to lose the audience. That was some idea I had in my head. I got to say the joke so fast that the audience doesn't have time to focus on something else.
Yeah.
And that was just completely wrong.
Yeah.
You have to give the audience time to process things.
Okay.
I remember my mother has a friend from New York who she's a very religious lady, and she sends us all these like Bible
scriptures
verses all the time, scripture. And so one time she was here staying with us, and she was like, your mother's been telling me about your comedy. I want to see it. I want to see it. And I was like, oh, God, I think that she's going to, like, freak out at me about the content of this bit. So, like, I showed her the video, and it was, like, me at Helium. Mm-hmm. This is from a long time ago. It was from, like, 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I showed a bit, and I'm expecting her to be like, I can't believe you're talking about these things. You should be ashamed of yourself. Jesus doesn't like this. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But she was from New York. She's from the Bronx.
Yeah.
So she listened to it and she goes, "What is this? What is this? I don't know what this is." And I'm like, "It's my comedy." I'm like, "Is it a problem?" She's like, "This isn't comedy." And I was like, "Why not?" She's like, "There's people laughing and you're talking over them." I can't understand what you're saying because you're talking over yourself, you're talking over the audience, and it was like she really understood comedy. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that. This is when I was like a year and a half in. She's like, you gotta wait. You gotta be patient.
Yeah.
You're talking too much.
That's cool. I like that story.